Hello everyone. Hi, very good morning. So today we're going to talk about it might be good morning or evening, whatever. I hope you have a good day. Okay, let's get back. So today we're going to talk about the Python tutorial. So I'm as a full stack developer. I've been getting videos on React and Node.js and Vue.js all this time. So today I've been progressing towards the Python and Django in coming time. So I thought to make a video as Python as the first one to get started with. Okay, so first we're going to talk about what exactly with these many topics. So first we'll talk about what exactly is Python is used for as uh, and basically like it can be how it is connected with development also. So Python was released actually in 1991 and it can be used for like mathematics or system scripting or software development or web development also. So if you're coming back to Python and you're thinking is it best decision to use for, but my guess for you is like what exactly you want to make, choose that and you can proceed. So as I said, like it can be used to create web applications, and the most recent version of Python is Python 3. So if you want you can just go through python.org. Yeah, so here if you go you can directly go and install the version. So what we do now, let's get started with installing the Python. So what you need to do is if you have to go to the Python and just make sure you just download this. Right now I'm on Mac, so similarly if you are on this uh, on Windows you can just do the same. So once you have installed the Python, to check whether which version of Python you are using, so Python double double dash and then just type version. So right now if you see, it says for me that okay, there's a grammar mistake, so always have a look on that. So as you can see it's 3.9.6. So right now as of making this video it's 3.12 if I remember the correct version. But okay, now what we do is once you have installed this Python version, now let's go towards a Python file here. So I've just created a file called test.py, and let's say let's start with the first hello world here. Yeah, and now let's say if you want to run this file, let me just run this. So what you need to do is just type Python and the name of the file, so that is the test.py. So if you run this it will print it. So this is the just getting started with Python. So yeah, congratulations, you have created your first Python program. Now let's go, what we do is, now let's say if you want to print the Python version on your editor, so what you can do is, so just like if you are working in React, or just like how you import library and all, so you can just import system here and print. Let's say if you want to know the version from the editor, so you can always do like this, it will give you the 3.9.6 version. Okay, so this was all about it. And let's say if you're on Windows, sometimes writing pi also works. So as you can see it's working. And let's say if you want to quit from this terminal, so just type quit. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so I think we are ready with this, or you can also type exit here. Similarly, now let's get started with the syntax. That is the next version of what we are, the third point which we are going to touch. So for syntax, now let me just tell you a few syntax. So okay, so Python has something called indentation. My sorry for my pronunciation, it might be wrong. Okay, so let's say let's say the just like if you have written in JavaScript, you know how you write everything in curly braces. So you have a if and then you write like this. But in JavaScript, the indentation is very important and it indicates the block of code. So let's say you have written like 5 version, something like this, and let's say and this is how you end your bracket if you're coming from JavaScript, and end of, and you write 5 is greater than 2. Okay, so this is how you actually write. Let me just quit it. So if you remember, what I have done here is So 5 is it's printing the 2. So if this is the condition, and after the condition you're writing this, and this is what will happen if this condition is true. So as soon as you enter in most of the Python file, it will automatically take care of indent, but make sure it doesn't come here. So if, like, let's say if I take it here instead of this, then it will throw me error, something like this. So make sure that indentation is always taken care in Python. Okay, now let me just take some other example. So in Python we have something called variables also, which I will be touching about. So and we have something called comments also, which I will be touching now. So let's say if you want to have a Python, let's say if I give a comment like this, hello, or if I write it, hey, if I try to run this, it will still render only this much, not the one which I've commented out. Okay, so this is all about the comments. And for variable, let's say if you want to create, you can create it like directly instead of let or something. You just write directly like this, and you can just type print x. That's it. So now if you see, it has printed the file. So this is how you create variables in Python. So now what we will do is, uh, let's see more about, like, the comments. So in one more thing, the one comment which we thought, like, let's say, like, uh, when we want to add a multiple, multi-line string comments. So right now we have seen that if we write like this is a single line of comment. But let's say if you want to have, like, more comments. So let's say while you're writing a code, and you want to like this, and now whatever I will write here. So written, and if you want to write it more than one comment, and now let's say if I do a print here, and hey, so it will not print this. So this is for, like, a multiple, see, multiple multiple line comments. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about the variables again here. So in variables I thought to check more comments. So so in variables, let's say, make sure it always starts with a small number or small character, or even large character is still okay. But let's say, even this is okay, even this is okay, yeah, even this is okay. Okay, but what is not okay, and let's say if you want to have a number also, so you can add it like this. But what's not okay? Okay, what's not okay? So let's say, let me just use the comment here, what's not okay. So let's say if you start a number and then you're writing like this is not okay. As you can see, it's directly giving me a 2. Or let's say if you have a character but you are giving a dash in between instead of this, that is also not okay. Okay, it will see, it will throw error. And also if you are adding a space in between, that is also not okay. Okay, so remember all of this. And yeah, so another thing is, like, let's say you want to assign multiple many values to, like, you want to assign many values to multiple variables. So how we do is x equals to 1 and y equals to 2 and z equals to 3. But let's say if you want to do it in one line in Python, it's very easy. X comma y comma z is equals to 1 comma 2 comma 3. And now let's say if I print x comma y comma z, and now if I do this, so you can see 1 2 3, it has printed. And by the way, in print you can print just like, console.log, you can print multiple variables inside it. Okay, so that's about it. And yeah, and let's say if you want to assign, the same value to uh, multiple variables but has a one value, what you can do. So let's say I want to assign x comma y comma z is equals to, 1 only. So what I can do is, no, if I try to print it, see, 1 1 1, both got one. And let's say if you have a now and also, like, let's say if you have a collection of values. So what is collection, that I will come into a little bit, but just for as of now this video, let's say you have created a value called fruits, and let's say you have named it as, a comma b comma c. Okay, and let's say you want to unpack this to a particular value. How you will do that? X comma y comma z, and just type fruits here. That's it. And now if you print this, there you go. Each value will have printed ABC. That's it. So that's all about assigning multiple variables. And let's say what else. I think we have also talked about how we can print multiple variables together. Now let's talk about the global variables. I guess this is also a very important topic. So and by the way, you don't have to write this, okay, comma whatever. So let's say you have defined an x that is equals to x now, okay, and sorry, x is equals to awesome, something like that, okay. And now let's say I've defined, and also remember, to define a function you have just type def and the function name. I'm just calling it pyfunc, okay. You can call it whatever you want. And after that, what I'm doing is I'm printing python is plus x, okay, just like javascript. If you remember, you can just append it. And yeah, now let me just execute this my function here. And now if I do this, let's see what we will get. The output. Python is awesome. So what it's doing is, so variables are by default created outside of a function, so these are already called as global variables, okay. And it can be used by everyone, both the inside function and also, let's say, outside functions if you are calling it somewhere, okay. So that's the thing. And let's say outside function is, let's say if I run the same thing here, it doesn't matter even if I'm returning this or not, so it will render two times. See, that's the thing, okay. Oh, okay. And let's say when you so but there's one more thing which I want to talk about. This is a special tip. So let's say whenever you create a variable inside a function, that variable is by default local. That means it can be only used inside that function. So for instance, if we go with my func again here, and now I'm just create some variable at x is equals to y, okay. And now if I do a print here, just like how we did, what it will, I will append an x here, okay. And same thing if I do here outside. Now let's see what happens. So if you see the name x is not defined, that is the problem, okay. So that's why it's throwing error on line number 5. If I remove this and now if I run this, see, hmm, okay, I have to run this, sorry, my function, okay. And I'm running this both again together. See, now it's throwing error. Now if I remove this and now I only run this my func, see what happens. What's high? It's taking the value of, so as I said, whatever value defined in x is what I say local variable. Now to make it global, what you do is you can just type global here. So this will resolve the problem. So oops. So first you have to define x as global here, and then only you have to give the value as for x equals to this. So make sure you have done in this way, okay. So if you see, it gives the indent issue, so always take it up line and then hit enter. It will resolve it. So if I do, now it's coming on the in both the side, even if you're defining it inside. So that's the one of the catch here, okay. So I think we have calculated this. So yeah, that's all about this. In the next topic, we'll talking about the data types and number. See you in the next video. Thank you. Hey everyone, hi. So today we're going to talk about the three topics: data types, numbers, and casting. So I will go in sequence. So first, let's talk about the data types. So data types are usually first is built-in data types, and then another thing is like we will talking about how to get the data type and also setting the data type. So first let's understand what is the data type. So in programming, data type is a very important concept. So let's say whenever you have like, let me just write it here. So let's say whenever you have a text type, something called text type, that time we call it as string. And let's say when you have a number type, or let's say a number or something, so that time we have call it as, it can be a type of int, it can be type of float, or it can be a type of a complex number. And let's say if you have a sequence type, sequence type, Yeah, so sequence type is, let's say, an array or something, right? So it can be a list, it can be a tuple, or it can be a range. So I will be going back to this, this topic very well, what exactly in the sequence type in the coming up video. So stay hold on that. And then we have something called mapping type. So if you're coming from JavaScript, you know what is a map. So map is nothing but usually in JavaScript it's by default, an object. So similar to that, here we call it as dictionary. And then let's say when we have a boolean type. Boolean type, nothing much to talk about here. It's just a bool. And then we have a none type. None type usually a type of none. Let me just take it, a little bit up. And what else we have? Then we have something called binary types. Binary types. So binary types are usually of bytes. Usually we don't use it, but if you're coming from data science or some other backgrounds, that time this is useful. And then we have a memory view. So uh, the top one which you see, from the text type to number, these are usually there in most of the programming languages. Okay, so what we will do is, now let's talk about like how you can get the data of any type of object using the type. So uh, since we're talking about this, let's go back to our code here. So usually JavaScript, is usually dynamic type. So let's say if I type 3 here, uh, and let's say I want to know what type of type is. So what I will do is I will type print, and then I will just type here, and I will just give X. So if you see on over, it gives you what type of built-in type it is. So now if I do this, so it will tell me that it's a string even if it's a number. So why? Because it is written inside us this. Now if I remove this, now it will be a type of int. So this is what was the data type of int. So let's say uh, let's say in Python, as I said, the data type is set when you assign a value to variable. So uh, I think we have covered the number and string. So let's say if I do a this and then I do a this, uh, A and B and C, this time it's a list. And let's say if I now if I do it like this inside our curly braces, so that time it's a tuple. So what's a list and tuple, we will be coming there. As I said, just remember, tuple is between this and list is between the square brackets. And then if you want to have something called range type, so we have it range, which gives you a number from 0 to 6, or how much you are giving. And then we have a dictionary type. Dictionary type, as I said, it's it's like this. So you have a name and you are giving it a string, and then you have just like class, and then you're giving it one. So it's a mix combination. Okay, so then we have like boolean. As I said, it can be of x equals to true. So remember, you have to write true and false in caps lock, capitalize T. Okay, now if I do a print, and now if I do a type, and then I do x, so yeah, so that's how you can get the class of bool. So remember all of this. And for complex number, just a quick sequence. So let's say if I write complex number as 1 comma j. Okay, and this time if I do, it will give me a complex number. And for float, it's 20.5. And now if I do, it gives me a class of fold. So remember all of these data types. So what you will do is, so I think we have set it up the data types. Now let's go back to the numbers. That is the second topic here. What exactly are the numbers here? So as I said, the numbers are usually of type int, float, and complex number. So as I said, like to verify the types, you can just do the type statement which we did, and just type XYZ. It will give you whatever the type says. So here I think, but let's say you can and also you can convert from one type to another type. That is another topic which I want to touch. So let's say you have x is equals to 1, and now let's say convert from, now if you want to convert this int to float. Okay, so what you can do is you can define a variable, and what I'm doing is I'm just typing float as x. So now if you see, now if I print this a, Okay, remember I'm printing x and a. See, let's see what happens. So how? Okay, I think I need to do a type here. So here I'm printing type of both. So if you see here carefully, now see. So what happens? The type X which we had was a type of int, but after converting it into float bracket, it's a type float. So similar to this, you can do it for let's say if I want to do it a complex number. See, it will give me a complex. And now let's say if I want to do a string, see, it will convert to class string. So this is how you can convert the strings also. And okay, so Python, let's talk about a random. Since we're talking about numbers, let's talk about random numbers also. So Python does not have a random function to make random number, but Python has a built-in module called random that can be used to like make random numbers. So what for that? Import random, and let's say I want to print a random number from so for that, between numbers you can use a 1 to comma 110. So what it will do is it will print random number but from 1 to 10 every time. Okay, so that's cool, amazing. So let's touch the last topic, that is casting. So there are many times when you want to specify the type on a variable, this can be done with casting. Okay, so Python is an object-oriented language, as we know, and it is it uses class to define the data type, including its like primitive type, what type of it is. So let's say. Okay, so basically what is casting here, so let's say if I want this x to be forcefully, it should be one only. Okay, so what I do is I type it into the this int. And similarly, if you want it to be float, just like what we did previously, we were just casting it by defining what type of exactly this is. So so this is a simple basic thing about casting. I think while discussing numbers we have already covered it, so we don't have to talk about it, but yeah. So this was all about this video. In the next one we are going to talk about strings and booleans. So see you in the next video. Thank you. Hey everyone, hi, welcome back again to another video. So in this one we will talk about only two topics, because one of the topics might be a little long, that is strings. But yeah, so what we do is let's get started with this video. So in today video we're going to talk about first the strings. Okay, so strings in pythons, let me just go back to here. So string in pythons are usually surrounded by either a single quote or a double quote. So let's say if you write this, you can write like this also, or you can also write like this, it still doesn't matter. Okay, so they both are the same. And as I said, like if you want, you can print it with the print, it will still print the same. Okay, now let's say if you want to like as I said, like if you have a multi-line string, how you can do that. Right now whatever we are doing is like this only in a straight line, or everything can be happen in line number one, which we have here. But let's say if you have a multi-line string, how you can define that. So if you remember, just like how we did it for comment, so you have to write three times three, and you have to end it three times. So now, like let's say, hi, my name is Nitesh, I am known as Prophet as gaming name, and on uh YouTube it's name, whatever. Okay, so if you're watching this, thank you to know my name. So let's say if I am defining this, so remember this is not a comment. Okay, now if I do this print, and now if I do an x here, see what happens. So as you can see, this is a multi-line comment. But remember, if I remove this, right now I don't have any x, so by default it will be counted as it will be counted as a comment only, it will not render. So there's a difference between a comment and a multi-line. So I repeat, so there's a difference between a multi-line comment and a multi-line variable assigning. Okay, so that is the thing. Okay, cool. Now I think we have covered this string as array. So let's say if you want to access the first uh, okay, so let me just take a simple example. Let me just keep it aside. Let me just have y here, and Let's call it as this here. And now let's say if I want to string as array, okay, so let's say if I want to access the first character of this, so what I do, I just type 0 here, so see it will give me the n here. But now let's say what happens if I do the same with the multi-line character. What will happen? Will it return h or a space? So it will return a space. Okay, now if I take it back, and now if I do, still the same. So oh, so that's something which you have to do. So now if I do a 1 here in a multi-line, now let's see, now it's giving me edge. Okay, so it's reading from line edge. Now if I do a 2 here, will it give I? Okay, so this is how it's reading I. And now let's say if I give it 3, it will give me so this is something h, I, and 3. So now let's say if I give it 4 or a 5 here, y. So this is how it will do it. Okay, for array usually this it goes like this, but for multi-line this works little weird here. Usually I never prefer to do in this way. But yeah, this is how you can access it. And let's say if you want to loop over through strings, how you can do that. So let's say you have for let's say x in a string, so let's say Nidesh, and let's say if you want to print each character. Okay, so now let me just do this, and you have to make sure you write this every time. There's an indent. And now if I do this, see, now it will loop through each characters. Okay, so that's the thing. And let's say if you want to have the length of string which you have, so you can use length and then the x. So what it will do is it will return the length of the string which you have, so 6. So this is what you can do. And another thing is, let's say if you want to check uh, uh, whether let's say if you have that particular word in the text or not. So let's say you have a text that is the best and apple. So let's say if you want to check whether this apple is there in the text, so what you can do is you can just do a print, and you can just type this, what is this apple is in text. If you do this in here, so it will just do a texture and it will return it. So I guess there is some issue. So what we are doing is, it says the text is not defined. Okay, it's not x. No, yeah, so it returns true. So this is how you can check whether this is there or not. You can also do it with the if condition. So in if condition, it's similar to like if apple in text, and then you can enter some print here. Okay, so it's similar to this, remember that. Okay, let's go back. So on lots also, like if you want not in check, you can also do it like this, it will return false. Okay, so that's it. Now let's go back to slicing of string. So let's say if you have a string and you want to slice it, um, a simple example can be like I'm giving b as hello world. Okay, now let's say if I want to get the characters from position 2 to 5, so print, and let's say of b here. Okay, I want to get from 2, that is 0 1 2 3 4, and 5 is the space. So I want till oh, I do this. See, now remember one thing, guys. One thing, like let's say if I remove the space and I do now. Oops. Okay. Now what happens is 0 1 2 3 4 5. The last 5 which you read doesn't comes. Okay. So the end index. So position 5 here is not included. So 0 1 2 3 4 5. 5 is w here, so it's not included. Remember, the whatever the last index you give is never included. Okay, so this is how you can slice it. uh, yeah, and the first character has always the index as 0. And now let's say if you want to slice it from the start until, like, even if you don't give it to, okay, so it will have the edge. So see, now it goes till w. Why? Because we have given 6. Okay, and if you remember, w was the fifth. Now slicing to end is similar, so do not provide the end index, just give the start index. So let's say if I give it 1 here, so it will start from e, I guess. So yeah, it takes the full one. Okay. Similar to this, you can have for negative indexing also. So yeah, so negative always starts with -1 from here, -1, -2, but from here it always starts from 0, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so let's say we want to start from -1, that is d, and I want to have it till, um, -2, which is not included. So what is -2 here? So -1, and then we have, uh, let's have it till -5, like -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. From w, we want it till, -2. So -4, -3, -2. So del will not come. Okay, see, del is not coming. So that's what we are checking here. Right, now let's go with the to modify the string. Let's say we want to, have it in uppercase. How we will do that? So for that we have something called upper. Now if I do this, see, it will convert it to uppercase. And similarly, if you want to do it to lower, yeah, this is how you can do it. So that's how. And if you want to remove, the white space in between, uh, that is coming from the beginning or end, you can always use the strip. So if I have this, and if I have this, and if I just do this, and if I do this, it will remove the space. Okay. And let's say if you want to replace a string with something, you can also do that. So let's say I want to replace the d with edge. So replace d with, edge. And now if I do this, see, it has removed the d with edge. So that's what. And yeah, so these are the string methods. And I think we have taken a lot of things. And let's say if you want to concat two things, so let's say a is equals to name. So let's say Nitish. And now let's say if I want to concat them, there are multiple ways. But let's say if I do a plus b, so this is also a way of concatenating it. And yeah, and let's say if you want to format string, so that is another way. So formatting string, uh, let's say you cannot combine a string number, like, uh, it will throw error. So let's say if I give it 7 and then I do this, it will throw me error. So because you're trying to combine int plus string, that's the problem. So for that, what you can do in from Python 3.6, they have started something called f strings that actually solve this problem. So how we will do this? So let's say we have a string and number, okay, and we want to combine it within a string, or let's say we want to combine this a in a string. How we will do this is, uh, let's add f here, and inside the f, let's say if I want to have this a here, so make sure you have the b after a, else it will not get the value of a. Okay, now it can access the value of a. And then if I just read b here, so if you see, it has read the value of 7. So this is how you can concat string and numbers. And yeah, so that's it. So let's say this was one of the way. And uh, like inbuilt, if you want, there are multiple ways to uh, modify the string. So let's say you have something called price, and this price is 7. Okay, but let's say you want uh, this price, and if I write it price, but I want to have it, in decimal format instead of, hello world 7. I want this price to be a decimal format. So what can I do? So what do you do? Let's say whenever you want to have something converted, you just write this 2, just type 2f. So it will give me in the conversion of 2f, which means, fixed point number with two decimals. Uh, or also, let's say if you want to have it, there are multiple other ways also that you can check it in string formatting in Python. But I will try to, touch few more if I have time. So I think, yeah, I think this is enough. So you can also, have a function called here. So let's say you have created a function, my converter or something, and then you are passing this value as b. You can also write like this. It will go to the function, return the value, and yeah, that's it. Okay. So there are multiple types of way of formatting. So, and let's say if you want to have this price converted to, percentage or a number format or a hex format, there are multiple ways you can do that. Okay. It has all came up from Python version, as I said, uh, 3.6. Okay. Now what we do is, let's go with the escape characters here. So let's say, we have a text. What the escape character says is, let's say we have a text and we are writing in double characters. Here we are one, and then known as, and then let's say if you want to write it forcefully, vikings like this, and then again you write from the north. So this time if you see, the syntax got broken here, as you can see. So in that case, what you can do is, instead of writing like this, or let's say you forcefully have to write it, you can just backspace and backspace inside the string. So one outside and one inside, and then the string is valid. So this is how you can escape the characters for single quotes and backslash. Okay. And there are multiple string method. I think some of them we have checked it. So let's say we'll talk about few of them. So let's say if you want to okay, so let's say you have this text and you want to have a specific number of zeros at the beginning. So you can use something called zfill, and if I add it here, so if you can see, so what this zfill does, it pads a number of zeros on the left, right, left. I don't know why I'm not able to see it, but yeah, I think we have checked upper to lower, and also, like strip and split also. I think, let's say if you want to convert this into an list, you can just do a split, and then it will be converted into an array. And then I think, yeah, and then let's say, how to lower also we checked, and let's say if you want to check whether all of them is lower or not, so you can check it with is lower, and there are multiple. So if everything is lower, it will return as true, but if I do a here, so it will return false. So the thing is, you can go through and do all this, and you can see a list of, you know built-in methods. Now let's go with the booleans here. So Python booleans, I think we have already calculated. So in Python, you have to write booleans as true or a caps lock false. This is how you can write. And or let's say whenever you are comparing two values, that time you can check whether it's true and false. Okay. So in most of the so in Python, most of the values are by default true. So when I say this, so any string which you see, and then you do if x, it will be given as, true. It will see, it will return x. Why? Because this is true. So most of the string is true. Any number, let's say if I give it 5, still it's true. But if I give it 0, that's the catch, it will give false. Okay. And usually a list and tuple or a set or a dictionary are true, but empty ones is not. So let's say I have a list and I write it 1 comma 2, it will print. But let's say if I have it empty, that time it will not. So that's all about bools. And I think I covered most and like what are false. So I think for empty list, empty set, empty string, and zero and none and false, these are all which returns false. Okay, so yeah, I think I've covered up most of them. So see you in the next video, guys. We will talk about operators, list, and doubles for sure. So yeah, see you in the next video. So hey everyone, hi. So let's talk about the list and tuples very quick. So let's talk about first the list which we have. So list usually starts with a square brackets which we are creating. So this is an empty list right now. So let's say lists are used to store multiple items in a single variables. So there are 1 or 4 built-in data types in Python used to store collections of data, and the other three which we have talked about, like the tuples or the set and the dictionary. So I will talk about the set and dictionary in the next video. But yeah, so lists are created as I said using the square brackets. So let's say we have a value a comma b comma c, a very simple one. And let's say if you do a type of this, it will give you a type of list. Okay, but now let's say the list items are ordered, changeable, and it allow duplicate values. So let's say if I have this and if I have a c here again. Okay, and now let's do a print. Now let me just do x. See, it can have duplicate values, and and this items are indexed. So let's say if I want to access the first value of a, I can, just like how we did for string, we can do that. And so when we say ordered, it means that the items are defined, have a defined order, and this order will not change. So if you add a new items to a list, the new items will be placed at the end. Okay, so you can't change that. So we will talk about how this can change in later video, but this is all about the information about the list. Okay, and yeah, so let's say if you want to calculate the length of this list, so just like how we did is for the string, that is len, you don't have to import anything. And yeah, that's how you can get the length of the string. So list item is the one of the, I said, 4 data types, and it can include not only strings, it can have numbers, it can have a float value, or it can have a bool. Okay, so it can have any data types. Okay, so remember that. And yeah, so what we do now is, now let's see, first and foremost thing is, I think we have already checked how we can access the list items, but let's say if you want to access the very last one, just like how we did is -1, so it will give us the value as 1 from this. Okay, this is called negative indexing. And let's say if you want to specify from start to end of a list, you can also do that. So let's say it's like how we did for strings, right? If you remember, so start, let's say from 2 0 1 2, or let's say 1 here from b 1 2 3. So if I do till 3 here, it will not include the 3. So 0 1 2 3, so it will have a single c b, and till here, it's not including this 3. Okay, cool. As I said, and remember that the first item is 0, and it will start at index 1 here, and it will end at index 3, but it will not include. So always remember, this will never be included. Okay, this index value. Great, so I think we have talked about the list. Second, okay, so check if the item exists in the array or not. So for that, what we can do is, let's say we have a list, and let's say just like how we did for string, right? Let's say whether this b exists in the x. So this is how you can check it returns true. Okay, so that's one of the values. So now let's say you want to change the list item, so how you can change it. So let's say instead of we have 1 2 3 4, the fourth element we have a C again. I want to make it to D, so I will make it as 04 and I will make it to D. Okay, and now if I print X, see, so list is always changeable, remember that. So 0 1 2 3 4, so it has changed 1 to D. Okay, so this is how it is changeable. And you can also change a range of values, so it's not like this is something new. If you are coming from JavaScript, you might not find this. So let's say I want to change um, I want to change the value from like 1 to 3 to 3. I want to change it to another value. Okay, I want to change it to a number 9 or 6 7. Now see what happens. So it has changed this value to as 1, and even the 2, it has changed it to 7, and even, yeah, and C and 1. So what I do here is, so this is how you can change the range of values. So 0 1, that is P, it has changed to C, and then 2, it has changed to 7, and then 3 is not included, as I said. So that's how it is done. Okay, so I think we have also changed. Now let's see if you want to insert new items to the list. So remember, whenever you insert anything, it goes to the end. Okay, so um, but if you want to add anything in between the list, so it's quite easy. So what you can do is x dot in insert, give it the index. So let's say I want to index as 0 1 2 3 2 3. Yeah, I've added 3. I want to change it to D. Okay, now let's see. Now it's proper A B C D. So it has inserted, but the thing here again, it has not removed it any element. Okay, so that's why this CN1 is coming. So let's say if you want to add something, so we have append here. So if I go here, x dot append, and let's add a 2 here, so it will append it at the very end. Okay, let's say similarly if you want to remove any item, so let's say if you want to remove, okay, you want to remove what, you want to remove 1 here. This is how it will be the list, and if you don't put any value, it will say that you need at least 1 value. So yeah, okay, that's how you can remove the list. And you can also loop through the list. That is very simple, I guess. So that's something for x in, no, sorry, for z in x, and then you can print z. So that's something which we will talk about later, or I guess I've already talked about it. And let's say you want to get the index value of each of these elements. So let's say I have D here, and I want to get the index of this list. Now let me just call it list, so it sounds a little proper. My list. Okay, now it's better. So for x in my list, now I want to access the length, right? The range. So, uh, so what I do is, instead of writing length, length will give me, of course, the length of the value, right? So if I type a length here, it will give me the length of this. But I want a range. So for that, what we do is I go a range, um, and yeah. And now if I do a print x here, see what happens. It will give me the range value. Okay. I think something is missing. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oops, yeah, my bad. Now I do clear here. Now if I done this, so it will return me the index. So first thing, I think I've already talked about it. What this range does is, so if I do a range and I give a number here, not even the list. So we need a number, right? I give a 3 here. So it gives me a range from 0 to 3, which is nothing but iterable. Okay, so we can iterate through it. And yeah, you can also use some other loops through the list that we will talk about later. Okay, and now let's talk about some other thing. Let's say if you want to sort this list, uh, that's also very easy. So let's say you have a list of numbers. Okay, you have a list of numbers. Let's say 1 3 9 commas, something like this. Okay, and let's say if you want to sort it, so what you do is you just type it. So by default, if you do this, it will sort it in ascending order. Okay, so but not like this. You have to write it here first, and then you can access my list. So yeah, so if you see, it has sorted it in ascending form. But let's say if you want to sort it in descending form, what you can do is just type reverse is equals to true, and there we go. Okay, so that's how you can sort it in descending order. And let's say if you want to sort it in a customized format, so that's also you can do that. So for that, what you do is there's something. Okay, so let's say you have created a function, you have created a def and my func again here, and then you have given out this, and let's say what you do is you are returning absolute value, or that is n minus 50, and this n you are passing is from here. So what you can do is when you are doing this, or next time you give a key, and that key is equals to my function. So now if I do this 9531, basically what it does is uh, it will basically sort the lowest number first, and yeah, so you can have a function and you can get the n and you can return it. Okay, so that's all about the sorting. You can also reverse it. So let's say you have a number and if you want to reverse it, um, you can just do this and reverse reverse it. Okay, you can also copy the list. So to copy the list is quite simple. So let's say um, you have to just type like copy, and just we don't need any def or something like this, and you have x like this. Yeah, so this whatever you have copied, right, so these are not like what you change in x will not be, see. So it's simple like this x is equals to my list, but because list because because since it's a copied, remember that whenever you change something in the x, it will also affect this. So for instance, what I do is I x dot sort this. Okay, so sort is a mutable method, and now if I do my list here, so what you will notice is 9315. Okay, so what I'm doing is so my list is not sorted. Yes, okay, and okay, so if I change any value, okay, so let's say instead of sort, if I change the value of 1 to z, now let's see, it's not affecting. That's nice. But the thing here is, but if I change any value of, and okay, okay, Now I will try to access X here, and now I will try to change the value of this 299. So if you see, whatever I've changed in my list, this time it's also changing in X. So what happens is, what you do a copy, okay. So if you change anything here, this will also get changed. But if you do any change here, this will not change, vice versa. So that's the difference, okay. So joining a list is also same. So it is just like concatenating it. So you have two list, you can just concat it, okay. Doesn't matter. So if I do this, you have just concatenated the list, okay. And so there are multiple list method. So let's say if you want to remove all the list elements, so if I do my list dot clear, it will basically remove all the sorry, it will basically remove all the elements from this array. And similar to concatenating, which we had plus, if you want, you can also, let's say x is equals to 981, and if you want to concatenate just like how you did plus, right, and then another list, so you can also use a dot extend and x. So this will give you and then you do a my list, so it will give you extended version of the list. My list is this, okay. Since I've cleared it, right, that is the problem. See, okay, so you can extend it, and you can remove it by doing the pop here. It will remove the last element from the my list. See, it has removed the 5, and we have checked the sort and also copy. And if you want, you can also check the index of an element. So let's say um, if I have an index, and let's say if I want to check the index of 1 here, and I do a print here, see, it will return the. So now let's go with the tuples. So tuples are also used to store multiple values in a single line. But to define a tuple, so let's see how first tuple is defined, okay. So usually a tuple gets into this. We have an apple. I'm just doing a grammar mistake because I know it's wrong, okay, just to make the video short. So tuples are stored to multiple value and single value variable. Tuple is one of the 4 built-in data types, just like how we had the other three lists, set and dictionary. A tuple is also a collection which is ordered, and now here is the main thing: it's unchangeable. Okay, so the list was changeable. That's why we saw a list of methods in it. But yeah, tuples are not unchangeable, and yeah, it is written with the round brackets. Okay, now what we do is, so but yeah, you can access the double value with the index value. So let's say if I do a print, and now if I do a my tuple, if I do a 0 here, see, I can still access the first value, okay. But this but here, uh, so whenever I'm seeing order, it means that the items have a defined order, and that order will not change, okay. So now so similar to list, they can also have duplicate value, and just like how we calculate the length, right, it has the same length. Now what we do is, and it can also have a multiple data types, okay, in that. So what we do is, now let's see some other ways to uh, and also it supports negative indexing. So let's say if you want to access the last one, you can have this, see. And let's say if you want to access the range of index, which we talked about, similar to list, it has that, okay. So other things, just like how we has the access, it has it. And now let's say if you want to change, update the value of index, but as we said, tuples are unchangeable. So what is the solution for it? So let's say what we can do is, so let's say I've get this y, And now let's see if I convert this into a list, and then if I try to update it as um jackfruit. So even high. So the last video went quite big while talking about list, but let's talk about tuples very quick. So tuples usually are like this, okay, and unlike the square brackets, they are defined by the curly brackets. They can't be unchanged, okay, so they are immutable. They can't be updated. But the only way to update is like converting it to a list, and then you change the value, and then you convert it back to a tuple, and then you have it, okay. So here if you see, the apple was wrong, I've updated it. Now if you see, it's back again in a tuple format. But yeah, so tuple by default has only two built-in methods. So one is the count, and one is the, what I say, um index. So the count basically counts the number of time we have value uh, present. So it will give me okay, it's give me zero, because okay, now if I type it zero, now it will count one. And then we have something called index, and we'll see at what index we have, that is zero. So these are the two inbuilt tuple methods, okay. So now let's talk about the sets and dictionary in the next video. Okay, hi everyone. So today we will talk about sets and dictionary. So first, what I will do, I will start with the set very quick. So sets are usually defined between uh, curly braces like this, and it is used to store multiple values. So let's say we have an apple, and let's say we have a mango here, and like it can be used to store multiple value, and it's one of the four built-in data types, okay, used in Python. And so this can be unordered, and these are usually unchangeable and unindexed. So set items are unchangeable, but you can remove the items and add new items. There's a way to do that, just like tables. Okay, so let's say this is how we have defined a set here, if you can see, and and sets are unordered, so you cannot be sure um, in which order the items will appear. Okay, that's one of the things. So what we will do is, and once the set is created, you cannot change its item, but you can remove the items and add new items. So that's the way. And here one more thing is, duplicate is not allowed. So what we do here is, so let's say if I change it, and if I print it, ignore the variable name, guys. It should not be a tuple, but yeah. And if I type a mango again here, so if you see, it has ignored the another mango. So that's the beauty of sets, okay. And true and one is considered the same value in set. So if I type one here, and then I have a true here, and then if I do this, see, it has ignored the true here, okay. Similarly, for the false and zero are considered the same here. Now what I do here is, um now let's see what will be the type of it. So if I do a type of it, it will give me a class of set. Now see, so that's the something, okay. You can also, instead of having it into this curly braces, you can also have it, set constructor. So what I do here is, I do a set here. You can write it like this, and in a tuple format, see. And if I do a mango again, just to make sure that, yeah, this one is a tuple, this one is a set. So see, after writing this set, yeah, this is how you can also write the set, okay. So um so as I said, like you cannot access the item in a set by referring to an index. So that's why, if you remember in the introduction, as I said, like oh, this is unordered. Okay, so you can't directly access the value or like set or list or even strings. So what you can do is, if I have this set, so you can't do like this and access the value. No, it will throw an error. Okay, that's the problem. Okay, so what you can do is, but you can do a for loop, for in loop, and then you can get the index of it, and that's how you can access it. Okay, but and yeah, so once the set is created, you cannot change its item, but you can add new items. So let's see how you can add new item. Okay, so let's say we have a set, and if you want to add, okay, what we want to add, we want to add a jackfruit. And instead of doing print here, what I do is I do a print here. I will change the variable name. It's not actually my tuple, okay, but yeah, I've added it. And similarly, if you want to like add um, multiple sets, like you can add a set into a set, that is also possible. So let's say you have let's call it as set underscore one, and let's say we have set underscore, remember we can't add like that. And what I do is I have a set and work one, two, three. So if I want to, what I can do is set one dot um, update and set two. So now if I try to access the set one, see, this is how we have updated it. Okay. Um, So this update method usually does not means that okay it needs to be a set. Okay, this can be any iterable objects like a list or something. It will automatically take care of it, and yeah, it will still update it as set. So let's say I remove this. Let's do the testing now only. Better. Who will wait? Okay. See, it has still given with the same result, but it has converted into the set. Okay, now let's see if you want to remove the set items. Similar to the list, we have here something called remove, and you can tell what you want to exactly remove. So let's say if I remove mango, mango is removed, and since it was duplicate time, that's why it's coming only one. Okay, so that's the thing, and you can also loop through it just like in for in loop, and there are multiple ways of joining sets. So once we have checked is that is the update method, and then let's say uh, if you want to check the difference between the two lists, that also you can do that. So alert from low battery. Okay, and let's say so let's say if you want instead of update, let's say if you do this and set one and set two, so what it does is um, set, let me just give it a value, let's call it as set set underscore three. Now if I try to access it, so it act as the same value of um okay, so this has to be a set for that. Okay, so that's few of the things you have to make sure. It reminds me of Python little bit, hacky language, but yeah. Now if I do this, see what it does is it has one two three and apple mango. Yeah, it has appended it, so it has done a union of all of that. So joining multiple sets also we have seen that. And okay, so this operator allows you only to join this operator only allows you to join sets with sets and not with other data types. That's why we were getting that issue, remember that. Okay, uh, which you can do with union method. Okay, or update, it doesn't matter. Okay, so yeah, so update method inserts all the items from one set to another, and the update changes the original set and does not return a new set. Okay, it changes the original set. So I remember that. Uh, and both update and union method will remove the duplicates, but I think we have not talked about the union method. So union method, as I said, it allows you like all the data types. Yeah, so there are multiple sets method also which you can check it. I will not go into the very depth, you can always have a look. So they have something called interaction, pop, remove, that you can check it. Okay, so let's talk about the dictionaries. So dictionaries works a little bit similar to sets, but this time it's a key value pair. Remember that. So whenever I call this is dict, so remember it's like this. So it has a key and it has a value. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, so this is called a dictionary which has a key and a value. Okay, now so dictionary are also used to store data values in key and value pairs, and dictionary is a collection in which is ordered, so and changeable and do not allow duplicates. So just like sets, it does not allow duplicates. So that is the difference. Okay, so let's say we want to access the value of this year. So how we will do that? So we can do this by just typing this dictionary and the year. Okay, and see this is how you can access. Okay, it also has a get method. So instead of doing this, if you want to go with the, you can also use like this, and yeah, here it will give you the same results. Okay, if you want to get the keys of all of this at once, so you can just do keys. If you're coming from JavaScript, it's object dot keys. It will give you all the keys or list of keys which you can iterate. So you can also change the value, and like if you want to get the values, you can just type values here, and yeah. Okay, so now let's say if you want to change the items or the keys, so similarly it has an update method, or you can directly change the value. So let's say if I want to change this EO to 2000, and if I get the value, see 2000 is there. Okay, okay, so um you can also update it with the update method in this dictionary. So let's say we have something called update, and you have to give it like this. So what is the key? That is CEO, and let's say from 2000 you want to change it to 2001. And now if you try to access it, phew, so let's see, now it has been changed to 2001. So this is also you can change it. And yeah, so I think we talked about the update method also. Now let's say if you want to remove it, so it has similar, you know uh, so let's say if you want to, let me just remove this. So let's say if you want to remove the last item. Okay, so see what will happen. So it will remove the year, we have only name. But let's say if you want to pop something specific, let's say I go with the name. See, I only left with the year. Okay, so it has pop and pop pop item. So yeah, here also you can loop over with the for x in this dictionary, and you can also copy this dictionary with the dot copy method. And yeah, it can, and the dictionary can have a list, unlisted dictionary family. So to access that, uh, it was similar as I said. Go to the key, go to the key. Okay, it's this method. Okay, so there are a lot of dictionary methods. I think I've copied or corrected most of them, the one which might be useful in daily life. Okay, yeah. So in the next one, we are going to talk about loops. So see you in the next video. Hey guys, hi. So in this one, we're going to talk about conditions and loops. Okay, so this one I guess it will be very quick. So conditions. We have the if else conditions here. So in conditions, what I really want to talk about. So yeah, so a is equals to b. This says that, like this supports a so like it says that something whenever you it's equals we do this, and let's say whenever you want that something is not equal we do this, and then let's say greater than and less than. I think you already know that, and you can also have greater than or equals to. Okay, so this is how you usually check this condition. So let's say a simple if and conditions can be if and the condition. So let's say if one is small, if 5 is greater than 3, and then you write print, and let's say if this is true. Okay, I am writing it very fast anyways. So yeah, so whenever this condition is true it will return that yeah it's true. Okay, so this is all about the print. So and as I said, intention is very important here. But let's say if you want the else if condition. So L if if one is smaller than 2, then it will return one is smaller than 3, something like this. Okay, but for this to run, this condition should be false. So I'm making it false for jar, like, okay, intentionally. So that's why one smaller than 3 is printing. So this is how, if this is false then it will go here. Okay, so this is all about elif, and you can have multiple elif. And let's say if you want to have multiple elif like this and like this, but let's say if any of this condition doesn't match, you can have like this, and you can give it a print non match. Okay, so this is usually print of else if conditions. Great. So let's say if you want to have it a shorthand. So usually what we do is, usually if 5 is greater than 3, then you can also write like this, print yes. Okay, so this is another shorthand. And if you want an if else, so we have something called ternary operation for this. If you don't want like this, so let's say we will print a print a if 5 is greater than 3, else we'll print. So this is how you can read it. Okay, so it's similar, so similar to one which we had, but here we don't have to write something like this for sure. Okay, so it says if 5 is greater than 3, print a, else print b. So this is how the condition is. See, yeah, this is called ternary operator. And if you want a three condition way, so else, before else, if you want to have an else if, what you can do here is, um so it can have a if else in a straight line. So if this is wrong, then if a is equals to b, else print b, something like this. So it can all happen in one line. Okay, so this is a shorthand. So print can have also an or and logical and or operator also. So if you're coming from JavaScript, I remember you might write like this: 5 is greater than 3, and then 2 is then 3. Okay, but no, here you have to write something not like this. You have to write and here. Okay, or you can write or here, or or you can write um the not one. Not one is like if 5 is greater than 3, and not oh, not is like this. If 2 is smaller than 3, then print w. So see, it's not printing if 2, because 2 is actually smaller than 2, but it's giving a not like this. Okay, but now if I do, it will. So that's the thing. So not basically reverse the condition, and you can also have a nested if else loop. Okay, so nested if else loop is like, instead of this, it can go again if else loop. If 5 is greater than 3, and will print 3, something like that. Okay, so CWN3. So it can have a multiple thing. So sometimes if statement cannot be like, if statements cannot be empty, but if for some reason you have an if statement with a no content, put the pass statement to avoid getting an error. Okay, so let's say you have this, and you don't want to print or something, you just write pass, so it will at least pass the code, and you can write something from here onwards. Okay, so that's the beauty of pass. Great, let's talk about lambda very quick. So lambda is a very small anonymous function, remember that, and it can take any arguments but can have only one expressions. Okay, so let me just talk about lambda very quick. So let's say, so lambda is an anonymous function. Okay, so how you write it, you can write lambda like this. So as I say, it can accept multiple uh, arguments, but it can have only one expression. So remember, this is the expression, this is the argument. So here, what I now, if I do here is, if I do a print and x, so what I'm doing is, I'm passing so what I'm doing here is, taking this x, I'm passing the value of, let's say, 5 here. So if you see, it requires two more optional. So if I do 5 4 3, but I'm only accessing 5 here. So yeah, see, it has returned the value of this. So this is the what lambda function. So it can take any values, but it has only one expression. Okay, so why use lambda function? So let's say if you want to have them as a normal function or a one liner, and and that function expression is very short, and that time I think it's very good to use that. Okay, great. So I think we let's talk about the loops now. So we first have the while loop and for loops. So while loops are simple. So let's say I is equals to 1. So let's say while I is more than 6, what we do is we print the I and make sure that you increment the while. Okay, else it will keep on rendering. Now if you see what is the issue, we have to do like this. So I control it, knife run this, see, now it is incrementing and stopping it while this condition reaches. Okay, so this is all about while loop. And so while also have something called break and continue. So let's talk about break. So the thing here is, with the break statement we can stop the loop even if the condition is true. Okay, so what we are doing is, so while we are incrementing this, right, we are printing it also. What I'm telling is that if I is equals to 3, that time I will break it. Okay, I have to give it a indent. So let's see what happens. I've breaked it, I'm not allowing it after 2. As soon as it's 3, um, I will break it. I've printed it here, then only it's reaching here. So it finds that okay, I equals to 3, and then I'm stopping it. But now let's see what is the big continue statement is. This state continue statement basically skips the current iteration and prints the remaining. So if you see here, what I'm doing is, oops, I think, oops, there is the issue. Hey guys, hi. So I think in the last video we got stuck in our else in a while loop, I guess, with the continue statement. So now let me just take that very quick. So we had a, let's say, I equals to 0, and then we had while I is less than 6, and then we will increment this number by 1, and then what we said is that if I is equals to 3, then what we will do is we will continue, not compile, sorry, continue. So what the continue does, it basically skips the iteration, okay, and then I will print the number I. So if you can see, I'm just clearing it so you can see it. Yeah, so if you see, 1 is there, 2 is there, but 3 is not there, because for the 3 we are skipping the iteration and we are directly taking it here at the top. Okay, so that's something about while. Okay, let's talk about the for loop very quick. So for loop, I think in the last video we have already seen. So you can also have directly for within the fruits, and you can get each of this a b c, or you can also go through the range, and this is, it goes from 2 to 30 with a step of 3, and it also have a else loop. So if I show you, see, 2 plus 3, that is 5, plus 3, that is 8, plus 3, that is 11. So it is moving from a range till plus 3, and after once it is done, it will automatically print. Let me just take it a little up. Whoa, I'm done. Okay, that's all about the for loops, and I think I've covered most of them. Nothing is remaining, I guess. Yeah, and it can also have a multiple for loops. So let's say we have a for loop here, and then if you want, you can now have another for loop here. So it has a multiple for loops. Okay, great. So you guys, so in this one we can talk about only about functions this time. I guess after this we are going to touch the classes topics very quick. But yeah, let's get started with the functions very quick. So yeah, so functions. Let me just take it here, clear. Okay, so function is just nothing but a block of code which runs when it is called. Okay, so to define a function, what you do is you start with a def, and you can write it my func, whatever function name you want, and here you can return, or let's say returning the value as true. Okay, so, and it's called only once you run, as I said. So this is how. Okay, you can pass the data known as parameter into a function. So let's say a and b, let's say you can give it a value 1 and 2. So this is called as parameter, which is your passing uh, to a function. Okay, so I think now to call a function you have to write like this, and so information can be passed to a function as argument. So you're passing this as an argument. Okay, so arguments are specified after the function name inside the parenthesis. Okay, so you can add as many arguments as you want, just separate them with comma. The following so what I will do is, parameters or arguments. So this might be a little confusing, so remember, in short, so parameter is what an function accepts, but argument is what the user is being sent to the function, okay, which is called. So remember, that's the difference. Don't get confused. Okay, while I was studying, this is also was causing me an issue. Okay, so if you don't know how many arguments that will be passed to your function, you can add a asterisk before the parameter name. So let's do something like this. So what I do is, um, let's say I'm passing it as kids. I don't know like how many I'm going to pass it. So let's say I have, I'm returning a string, not printing. So what I will do is I will print, um, I have this kids. Okay, and what I will do is I will pass this kids whatever I have. So I will pass this kid as ml, and then toga, and then clove. Okay, now see, if I run this, see, oops. Oh, okay. The issue is due to this. So if I do this, so let's say since I'm passing it as a list, right? It should print clove. See, clove. Okay. So we are getting this as a list which we can access it later on. Okay. So you can also send arguments with a key equals to value syntax the other way. So let me just tell you how. So let's say you have instead of writing as child. So let's say you have child 3, child 2, child 1, and now what you do is you can define it here. So you're giving child 3 is equals to this. I'm not following this order, so instead of child 2, I'm using child 1, and here I'm using child 2. Okay, so these are called name parameters, uh, name arguments which I'm passing. So for this, what you have to do is instead of writing this, let's say we are using the f string. So let's say I want to get the value of child 2. Remember, child 2 I'm passing it at the end, but see, it's still taking clove. Okay, this is also possible. So if you don't know how many arguments that will be passed to your function, add two asterisk before the parameter name in the function. So similar to what we have done is the kids which we did, right? We did this when you wanted more, but if you don't do many, you can add this. The way the function will receive a dictionary of arguments and can access item accordingly. Okay, so this time what we will have is a kids, and um, so if the number of keyboard is unknown, you can add a double. Okay, so let's say I'm having a name something like this. Okay, and so what I'm doing is I'm passing an f name equals to Nitish and l name is equals to Kumar. Okay, but but I don't know. Okay, now if I do this, Nitish Kumar. So now can I do the same with a single asterisk? The problem is we don't. That's the reason, right? So the thing is, we don't know how many, like what exactly are we gonna send it. But since as I said, like in double asterisk, you're getting it as a dictionary. In single asterisk, you're getting it as a list. Okay, but in a double asterisk, if you know what is the dictionary he might be sending, then it's a good catch. Okay, so let's say if I don't send this, I do a clear. See, and name is not defined, so it will throw error like this. So this one is usually suggested if you want it in a dictionary, and if you don't want to write multiple parameter to your function. So this is called arbitrary keywords argument. Okay, and this is only useful when you don't know how many arguments that will be passed to your functions, and so that's why you add it. Okay, cool. Passing a list of as an argument, so you can send as any data. You can send any data to like as argument, and so it's not necessary that you always need to send it as a string. You can also send this whole as a function which you can access it within one of this variable, and yeah, you can access it directly. Okay, so that's the thing. So instead of concatenating, remember we can't concatenate string with this, but yeah, you can access it. Okay, so that's the way. So similar to if the function cannot be, let's say if you want the function to be empty, you can just write a pass. For some reason you don't want to give it, and so function also have a positional argument. So let's say You can specify a function that can have only positional arguments or only keyword arguments. So to specify that a function can have only positional argument, so you can define it like this: a comma, like this is what is important. Okay, so without this you are actually allowed to use keyword argument even if the function accepts positional argument. So if you give like this, what happens is, if you do a control space, it will give you a like this. Okay, but if you write like this, it will still print, but by default it says that it needs a name parameter. But if you don't want this, this is just extra time pass. Now this a will not come, see, but yeah, you can pass it. There is no difference. Okay. So yeah, so sometimes let's say um, you want to like have only keyword arguments. Okay, so for that you can have this, and yeah, you can have a like this. So if you type a, you can have this as positional arguments, but other than that, all this will come up under the asterisk, and you can define a as equal to 9. So if you try to access a, oops, oops. So it says okay, so it says the value will be this. Okay, so what you see here is that you can directly access the values directly 9 here with the keyword argument, and that's the thing. Okay, so there are some all of this workarounds in function which is actually not required, to be honest. It's something you need to like it yeah, it's something which we don't need to remember, but yeah, these are all the things. Great. Hey guys, hi. So in this one, we're going to talk about the classes and objects very quick. So, unlike other language, Python also supports classes here. So the classes is nothing but Python also supports object-oriented programming language. Okay, and almost everything in Python is an object. So with its properties and even the methods which you see, right, it's nothing but a class or an object. Okay, so a class is like an object constructor or a blueprint of creating objects. So what I do is, let's say whenever you want to start a class, so you have to write everything is in small case, and make sure the class name which you gave is written like this. Okay, and I'm giving x is equals to 5. So I've created a class successfully here now, and now let's say now let's say if you want to access this class. Okay, so I'm going here and I'm just saying my class, I'm calling my class here. Okay, and now let's say I want to access the x value here, so clear it. I'm just typing you can see I can directly access the variable of my class which I've created. Okay, so now there are some functions, built-in functions in our class. So first one is the init functions, so which we are going to talk about. So init function happens something like this. So you have it, you call it def, and you can see it shows all of them in it. And then what init does is, so first let me just explain you what this init function is does it. Okay, so um all classes have a function called init, okay, which is always executed whenever the class is being initiated here, just like. Okay, so use the init function to assign the values to an object properties, just like x equals to 5, or other operations that are necessary to do whenever this object is created. Okay, so what I do, I've created init here, so I'm giving a self. I will come back to this self in a moment, what this self is and age. But just for a TLDR, this self is nothing but it represents the current initiation of this class. Okay, the one which we have created just now, the P1 here. Okay, in a short term. Okay, so yeah, I'm giving it a self name and age. Okay, now what I say is myself dot name I'm creating a variable just like x here. From here itself, I'm creating it as name, and then I say that self dot age is equals to the age which I'm giving it. Okay, so now let me just change this name to a person, because a person can have a name and age. Okay, so now let's say whenever I try to call this, if I try to run this now, it will give me an error because it needs a name and age. So what I do here is I give it a name. Um, so remember, I'll give it a name called Nitesh. This is called keyword arguments because you're giving a keyword name parameters or whatever, and you're giving an age as 27. I think I'm still 26. I will be 27 in the coming September. So yeah, now I think now if you want, you can access the name also. See everything, even the age. So that's how you can do. So remember, the init function is called automatically every time the class is being created. Okay, now another thing which I want to talk about is the str function. So if I come here, and so let me just tell you what this str function comes. Okay, so if I go here and I print this p1 instance, see it represents something like this. So whenever someone tries to access p1 on a real life example, they want to know what exactly this particular node or a person is. We can't have it like this. Okay, so to give it a nice visual representation, or like let's say it controls what should be written when the class object is represented as a string, just like this. Okay, so to do that, what we can do is we can just type like this. Okay, and we can give it a str function. You can just pass the self here, and here you can return um the f string which we did, right? So I'm giving it a nice visual name, so I will call it self dot name, and I will write like this. I make sure that, yeah, I'm this is in string. I'm writing again, self dot age. So now see, now whenever I write and see, it will give me like this. So it says it gives me a nice visual representation of this. So unlike so this class which we have, so it can also have some methods. So uh, method are the ones which belongs to this particular object. So what we do is, let's say we create my function here something. Okay, and as usual always pass the self, so you can access this name and age, whatever. Okay, so whenever someone calls this functions, I will just type hello, my name is self dot name. Again, create it as f string. Okay, now whenever someone calls this, I will call my function. See, it will return. Okay, so this is how it will, like you can create self your class. And remember, this self parameter is a reference to the current instance of the class. Okay, and it is used to access variable that belongs to this particular class. um, and if you don't have to be named self, you can call it whatever you like, but it's always the first parameter of any function in the class. Okay, so whatever you function you create, it has to be the first parameter, then only you can create any of the things. Okay, so instead of self, like let's say if you named abc, but remember, as I said, it's always the first parameter of, see, it's still written Nitesh. So just for a good code writing, always write it as self. Okay, so and can you modify the uh, value of an object? Yes, you can. So let's say if I change the p1 dot x to 99. Okay, and now if I try to access the value of x, first I clear it. See, now the value of x has been changed to 99. And if you want to delete it, so what I do is you can just type del p1 dot x, and now if I try to access it, see, You have deleted the x, but the one which is already confined, it's still printed. Okay. But if I delete the age, now if you try to access it, you see what happens is, but the one which got created inside this initializer can be deleted permanently. Okay, so remember this difference. Now, um, so similar to class functions and for loops, you can also have a past defined to it whenever you need. Okay, so yeah, that's it for this. Now in the next video, we'll talk about the inheritance. Hi guys, hi, welcome back again. So in this one, we will talk about inheritance. So inheritance, in the last one which we created was creating a simple class. Okay, but let's say this class can be, like a person. A person can be a superhuman, or it can be, a normal person, but it is actually inheriting the, properties of a person, right? It's still at the end inbuilt, it's a human. X-Men, Iron Man, or whatever, it's still in a human posture, right? So it's inheriting a person of, it's inheriting, all the properties of a person. So this is called inheritance. So in inheritance, what happens is it inherits all the methods and properties from one class to another class. Remember that. Okay, so what we do is we've created a person here. Okay, now what we do is, now let's create another class. So let's go back here. Let's forget everything below here for a second. And now what we do is, I create a class. I will name it as student, because the person can be a student also, right? So I will make sure it inherits everything from person. Okay, and right, I'm just, writing a pass here. So now what I will do is I will start something called student. Now I'm not passing it any parameters. Okay, I think it will automatically tell me, see, name and age. But now if I try to call my function here, it will throw me error. Why? See, because it also needs a name and a age. Then it will call me my name is name. So this is how we are inheriting. Okay, so so far we have created a class child that inherits all the properties and methods from its parent. If we want to add the init function to the child class instead of the pass keyword, so uh, similar to this, let's define it here. Okay, okay, now I don't pass here. Okay, so if you see here, the child init function overrides the inheritance from the parents init. Remember that. Okay, so that's the thing. So if I change this to age, and if I change this to name, now there will be a problem here. See, it has reversed. If you see, that's the thing which I was going to say. So that's the thing. So remember this, in child inits always overrides the parent inits. Okay, so uh, now let's talk something about super function. So Python also has a super function that will make a child inherit all its method and property from its parent. Okay, so so instead of writing this init every time, what we can do is, so let's say I've created this. Now let's say if I define the init, but let's say I also want to do the same initiation uh, from the, parent, how it used to do it. So like this, and I'm giving the, what I say, name, comma, age. But at the same time I want to do something else also here. Then the super class comes handy. Okay, by using the super function, you don't have to use the name of the parent element. It will automatically inherit all the methods and property from its parent. Okay, remember that. So what we do here is, um, so let's say the student, let's say in the init, what I can do is I can create a self dot grad year, and right now I'm creating it as 23. Okay, so right now if I try to access the Gradio, and if I do a print, you can see that it got modified. Okay, it means it has see 23, I guess. Yeah, see 23. So for the it inherits, it does the same thing which we have by doing this, but after this inherits, but at the same time you can create some customization to it. Okay, so we have also created added the methods also, and yeah, this is all about inheritance. So hey everyone, hi. So in this one we'll talk about iterators and polymorphism in a nutshell. So iterators is nothing but something, a countable number of values which you can iterate off. So it reminds me of generators in JavaScript, but yeah, let's see it very quick. So let's say I'll just have it commented here. Okay, now what I do here is, let's say I created a tuple, my tuple, and right now I'm calling it as a B. Okay, something like this, and a C. Let's take a C. Now let's say I'm creating a my variable. So by iter, what I do is I give it a tuple. Okay, now see what happens is, now if I do a next and then I do a my it, see, it will give me a, but if I do it again, this will give me a and b. So what is happening is it trading one at a time. So so it can be list, it can be a tuple, it can be dictionary. All are iterable objects. Okay, so they are iterable containers which you can get into an iterable forms. So let's say right now we have checked the next, right, looping through. And so let's say if you want, you can always loop through this iterators. So iterator is nothing but a list tuple, right? So it doesn't matter what I'm saying. Okay, so yeah, so I think, but let's go in the objects and class. Okay, so to create an object class as an iterator, you have to implement the method as iter. Okay, and next to your object. So what do we do is, I guess this was the one which we have created, right? So what I do here is, um, I call it as def, and to make it as iter, I think it's not here, right, or something is there. Okay, it's not coming. I don't know why, but I will just have a look. Okay, I will give it a self. So what I will do is self dot um, age is equals to 24, and then I will return as um self. Okay, and then let's see if I want to, have the next one. If I call the next one here, I pass the self here. What will be? It will be nothing but self dot age, and I will do a plus equals to 1. Okay, and then I will return x, or I can make x is equals to self dot a. Okay, this is what I'm thinking. So what I will do here is, I will have my class is equals to person, which needs, I guess, net and 24. And now I will create iter over it, my class, and what I will do is I will print next my iter. Okay, 24. Oops, where it is coming from. Oops. Okay, 24. Okay, so why? Because when I do a next, um, okay. It's implementing. It's actually C24 25. So uh, it's like having it next. But let's say, so it will forever continue. Okay, but yeah. So let's say if you want to stop the iteration. So let's say once the age reaches 26 or 26, that time what you can do is you can stop the iteration. So how you can stop the iteration is, uh, what we do is we first check. Okay, we first check. How we check if self dot age is equals to 26, it's less than 26, sorry. So that time we do this. Okay, this is what we were doing. Yeah. So, okay, x. Else what we can do is, else we can raise and stop iteration. Okay, so let's see. Now if I run this 25 25, now see, now if I write it one more time, see it has raise the error. So that's how you can stop the iteration. Now let's talk about polymorphism very quick. So the word poly, which we have, polymorphism means many forms, and in programming, okay, and it refers to method function operators with the same name that can be executed to many objects or classes. Okay, so function polymorphism. So example of Python function that can be used for a different object is the length, because if you see the length can be used for the hello world. Sorry, length can be used for the string. Length can also be used for a tuple, and length can also be used for dictionary. So this is called polymorphism. Okay, which can be used for multiple forms. Um, so similar to that, we have something called class morphism also. So a car can be of type, so if I say that we have three classes, car, boat, and plane, and they will have a method called move. So this is a similar way of uh, having a sub abstracted of a method. So I'm just thinking, what can I give you a best example? What I will do is I will take you to W3 schools polymorphism. The thing with this is, this is just a concept which we need to understand. So yeah, I think this one is good enough. So as I said, length, length is an can be used with strings and all of this. So a common abstracted one which can be used by multiple one. Similarly, if we have three classes called car, boat, and plane, they will all have a method called move. Okay, similar to length, which was used by tuples, list, or string. Okay, so that's the usage of, this is what we like, different classes with the same method all have the same method as move. See, this is what the morphism, they are talking about polymorphism. Okay, so in the above example you can see that car class is empty, but it inherits brand's model and move from a vehicle. The boat and plane classes also inherits brand, model, and move from a vehicle, but they both override the move method. Okay, because of polymorphism we can execute the same method for the classes. So that's what they are saying. They can, you can change it, but all of them inherits, like if you see this vehicle, right, they have inherited the, even the class, boat, and plane all have inherited vehicle, but what they have done is they have modified the move here. Just like in the previous example we modified the init function, right, we inherited it with the super word, but we modified it. So that's what they are doing here. So that's great. Everyone, hi. So I think we have covered most of the Python topics, um, the basics ones for sure. Now, before that, I would just want to touch some little advanced, and like this will be used for your day-to-day life. So let's get started with this. So first, let's start with the modules one. So so what is a module? Let's talk about this. So now let me just take it everything. Okay. So a module is a file containing a set of functions you want to clear. in your application. So just like how you did import sys, and then you did a sys, then you use the sys and you're using this. So similar to this, let's create, instead of sys, let's create our own file. So what we do is, let's name this file as my module dot py. Okay, and let's create a function called greetings here. Okay, and yeah, print hello. I will get it as a f. Hello, I will write it as name, and yeah, I will give it a name. Okay, now let's say instead of this, I will create another file called test.py here. Okay, now what I do is I import. If you can see, I can import my module this time directly, and I can just directly do print my module.c greetings is coming. It expects something called name, passing it as Nitesh. See, hello Nitesh. See, that's what it does. So this is how you can play with your modules. So you can also have variables in your modules, so it's not only functions. You can have your variables, and then you can access those variables directly. And let's say sometimes calling this my module is little short, like I can call it as my mx, and I can access it as mx. It will still run. Okay, so um so the other ones which I talked about was the built-in modules, right? The sys, or even the platform, and all of that. So okay, so what we do is has so like as I so let's say in this my module, okay, you have one this, and let's say you have an object. So I call it as name is equals to new, and I call it age is equals to 21. Okay, but now let's say instead of importing everything, I want to import only the object. So what I will do is, or the function. Okay, yeah, I can just type import, and here you can just type person1. Okay, so I think this as is creating an issue. So if I do this, so I can import the person1, or also greetings. So I can just type greetings. Now if it were clear, so I'll make sure this word is correct, and just type Nidesh to it. So what it says, name is not defined. Let me just check this. Sometimes like, even if you don't know, just check what type of error is. So now I think, yeah, so this was due to this. Okay, so that's how you can import it. And let's say instead of, now if you want to use a as here as gx, and just use gx, see, it will still run the same. So this was all about the modules. Okay, so now let's talk about what was that, the JSON. So in Python, so let's say you have a JSON. Okay, so it's, this one is little short, so I copied this small JSON here. Okay, so now let's say if you want to like play with this JSON, how you will do that. So what you do is first import JSON. Okay, Now what you want to do is you want to convert this JSON string so you can parse it. Okay, so what you can do is you can have this y is equals to this JSON dot loads, and in the loads you can pass this person one. Okay, now with after this you can directly but let's say when you call your JSON it should be a string, right? So yeah, this is a string. um, it should be like this. Okay, for a valid string at least, I guess. Yeah. So okay, let me just check what is the issue. So yeah, okay, so writing it like this, no indents. Okay, so now if you see, now if I want to access this y, right, so I can still write like this. So I will go with y, and now if I want to go to the age, I see 21. So this is how I can access. Okay, so now let's see the other version. You have this as a JSON. You have this as a Python JSON, okay, object, but now you want to convert it into like what, a string. Oh, so for that what you do is JSON dot dumps. So loads and dumps, remember that. Okay, so now if I do a y, see, I can see the JSON. Okay, so so whether it's a dictionary, list, or tuple or string, you can convert all of them into dumps. Okay, remember that. So it's not only this, it can be an object, it can be like a list, everything you can convert it into a dump. Okay, if you want to preview it. So that's all about this. Now let's touch the last topic, which I think I had, was the math. So math one was little basics one. So let's say the first one is the built-in math function which I want to talk about. So let's say you have an x and you want to get the min out of the tuple. So let's say not a tuple but 5, 10, and if you want to get it, just print it, and there we go, it will give you. Similarly, you can convert it to a max, and if you want to get an absolute of a value, okay, so let's say we have it minus 7.723, just convert it into absolute. Okay, and let's say if you want to have power 4 raised to 3, right? So 4 comma 3, 4 raised to 3 is nothing but I guess 64. Yeah. Okay, so this is all about like the one which you can find it globally, built-in math functions. But we have something called the math module. So math model comes little handy. So let's say apart from power, let's say if you want to calculate the square root, so x is equals to math.sqrt and of 64, and that you want to print, we have it math for that. Okay, and let's say if you want to round the number upward to its nearest integer, we have math dot ceil. Okay, for that, if you can see, and if you want, and the vice versa is maths floor. Cool. And even for the pi, you can have the math dot pi here, and here we go. Okay, so there are a lot of things in the math, but I think yeah, this is all about this one. So yeah, that's it for today one. We will see you in the next video. Thank you.